Hilchos Issurei Biah Perek Tisha Asar. The laws of forbidden relationships, chapter 19. We're continuing on the topic of the Koyanim, another of the women that a Kohen is not allowed to marry. The topic for today is the Chalala. Chalala literally means desecrated, but it's a reference to a specific type of woman. Really, two types of women. One is, if we skip the parentheses, a woman who engaged in a forbidden union with a Kohen. So let's say if a divorcee marries a Kohen, she becomes a Chalala. Chalala, desecrated woman. Another type of Chalala.
She's supposed to sign when she got get. She's supposed to sign she never married.
Yes, that's true. Today when they get a divorce, they sign that they're not going to marry a Kohen. The second type of Chalala is if we include the parentheses. A woman born from a woman who engaged in a forbidden union with a Kohen. So in other words, when a woman who is not supposed to marry a Kohen marries a Kohen, she becomes a Chalala, and her kids also do. And that's going to be the subject of today's chapter. We'll see all the laws that govern them today. Halacha Aleph says the Rambam Ezahi Chalala. What is the definition of a Chalala? Because in the Torah, and we saw this verse the other day, I'll just bring it up again to see the verse that talks about the prohibitions of the Kohanim. Here it is. Isha Zayna v'Chalala lo yikachu. They shall not take a woman who is a Zayna. That was yesterday's topic. Woman who engages in any forbidden relationship, universal forbidden relationship. And a Chalala. This is a specific, more zoomed in prohibition. So the Rambam says, what's considered a Chalala? Zusha nolda me isur kahuna. It's a woman who was born from a forbidden Kohen union. V'chein, and so too, achas min hanashim. Ha'asuras lekahuna. Shenivala lekayin, any individual woman who is forbidden to marry a Kohen. And she marries a Kohen, nischalala, she becomes desecrated. Aval ha'kohen atzmai she'avar ha'avera lo nischalal. But the Kohen himself, who transgresses the prohibition, doesn't become desecrated. Halacha beis ubein shenivala ba'inasai bishgaga. It doesn't matter if she had relations by force or inadvertently. Bein kedarka, bein shaloi kedarka. Whether she had them naturally or the unnatural way. Mishahera ba nischalala. The moment the Kohen inserts his male organ into her, she becomes desecrated. It's provided that the Kohen, the male in this relationship, was at least 9 years old. And the woman forbidden to him has to be at least 3 years old. That's the minimum age. But after that, this concept of the chalala goes into effect. Halacha gimel keitzad. What does that look like? Kohen ben tesha shanim v'yem echad. You have a Kohen, a born Kohen. He's 9 years old. Shabal hagrusha yala zoyna. He has relations with a divorcee, or a woman who is in the category of a zoyna. As we saw yesterday, the Kohen gadol shabal alehen oyal ha'almana, and same for the high priest. If he has relations with any of these women, or in addition with a widow who is also not allowed to marry, or he formally marries a woman who previously had relations and then has relations with her, these women have become chalalot forever. And if the Kohen begets a son from this union, whether the Kohen who originally desecrated her or another Kohen then goes and marries her after she's become a chalala, and they have a child, havlad chalal, the baby is known as a chalal. He's also desecrated from the kahuna lineage. But if a Kohen only consecrates a woman who he wasn't supposed to marry, he simply gives her the ring, they never get a chance to get married, that marriage ends, she becomes a widow or gets divorced from that state of consecration. They never actually had relations. The woman did not become desecrated on account of the consecration alone. There has to be relations. On the other hand, if she does get married, if she enters into nisuin with a Kohen, even though they never actually had relations, at that moment she already becomes desecrated. Because any woman who enters the stage of nisuin is presumed to have had relations, even though it's discovered that she's actually a virgin. Doesn't matter. The halachic status of a woman who has relations falls upon her the moment she enters nisuin, and therefore that's enough to make her into a chalala. Says that Rambam halacha dalet, kohen gadol shenasa b'geres. It's if a high priest marries a woman who doesn't fit the exact category of virgin. She's already reached full majority, or she's lost her virginity by being struck by wood, but not through relations. Lo yichilala, the relations with her doesn't desecrate her. Same thing if the Kohen has relations with a woman who already had relations once in her lifetime, but they never formulate the proper marriage around it. He has not desecrated her, he has not made her into a chalala. Halacha hey, Kohen haba'al erva min ha'araya is chutz min nida. An interesting case now emerges. You have a Kohen who marries a regular woman that he wasn't supposed to marry, a regular erva. Let's say he marries his aunt, or another relative that he's forbidden to marry, besides for a nida woman. Or he marries any woman who's forbidden to him by a negative prohibition, let's say a mamzeres. Okay? So through that, also he makes her into a zayna, as we explained yesterday. Anytime a woman engages in a relationship which she's forbidden to, she becomes a zayna. Now, the moment he has a second round of relations with her, now it's the Kohen having relations with a zayna. When that's a uniquely priesthood prohibition. When a Kohen has relations with a uniquely priesthood prohibition, he makes her into a halala. So with the same woman, two relations in a row, the first one makes her into a zayna, the second one makes her into a halala. If he has again relations with her a second time, whether he or another Kohen, he makes her into a halala, and now the kids are going to be also halals. Therefore, watch what happens. There's a woman who's waiting in the wings for Yibum. A regular woman. She has a husband who died childless, and that brother-in-law is supposed to take care of her. Comes a Kohen, jumps in, and has relations with this woman who's waiting for Yibum. And she becomes pregnant from this first relations. Havlad kosher. The baby is kosher. Kosher in the sense of acceptable lineage. Because even though he wasn't allowed to marry her, but it's a universal prohibition, not a uniquely priesthood prohibition. Nobody can marry a woman waiting in the wings for Yibum. Because she's not from the women who are uniquely prohibited to priests. However, because she transgressed a negative prohibition, the nas is zayna. She becomes in the classification of a zayna. And now, if a Kohen goes, and the same Kohen has relations again, nisabra v'yolda, and she gets pregnant and it gives birth, hi chalala uvlada chalala. At this time, second relations, she's a chalala, because she became a zayna, which is a uniquely Kohen prohibition. By having relations again, she becomes a chalala, and her kids are also going to be chalals, because this prohibition is a uniquely Kohen prohibition. Same thing if a Kohen marries a convert or a female freed slave. He has desecrated her, she is a chalala, and her kids are going to be chalals. If a Kohen has relations with a nida, havlad kosher ve'enei chalal. The baby is kosher, acceptable lineage, and he's not a chalal. She'ein isur hanida meyuchad b'kohenim, because the prohibition against having relations with a menstruating woman is not unique to Kohanim. Elashava b'kohel, it's universal. And so therefore, while he definitely went against the prohibition here, but the kid is actually going to be a Kohen, fascinatingly enough. Halacha zayin kohen shenasa gerusha mi'uberes. A Kohen marries a divorcee who is pregnant. Bein mimenu, bein me'acher. Whether she's pregnant from her original marriage to this Kohen, he was the one who divorced her, whether she's pregnant from someone else. V'yolda kishehi chalala. And she gives birth in the state of being a chalala. Because of course, once the Kohen marries the divorcee, he has desecrated her. The question is, what about the baby that she's carrying? That's not from him, or it's from an earlier marriage. Havlad kosher, the baby is kosher. Shari lebami tipas avera, because this baby wasn't born from transgression seed. It was born kosher. It was conceived kosher. Even though it was born by the time his mother was already a chalala, doesn't matter. We look at the baby's conception. Halacha ches, kvar beyarnu, we've already explained yesterday, shahachalutza asura lekoyin midivreim, that if a woman undergoes chalitza, we treat her as a divorcee, the rabbi said, and she's forbidden to a Kohen. Lefichach, therefore, a Kohen shabal chalutza. If a Kohen has relations with a woman who underwent chalitza, harezu chalala, vezara mikoyin chalalim, v'hakol midivreim. She's a chalala, her kids are chalalim, rabbinical chalalim. Aval Kohen shabal achas me'ashniyas. But if a Kohen marries a woman who is universally prohibited rabbinically, not specifically to Kohanim, he ksheira v'zarei mimena ksherim. She's kosher, the kids are kosher. She'isur ashniya is isur ashava b'koilhu, because the prohibition of the second category, the shniyot, are all universal. The einem miyuchad b'kohanim, not unique to the Kohanim. Halacha tes kohen shabal sveik zayna. A Kohen has relations with a woman who is in a doubtful status as to whether she's a zayna. We don't know if she had a prohibited relationship. like a woman who is in doubt whether she's a convert or a freed slave. Or he has relations with a woman who's in doubt whether she's been divorced. That means her husband gave her a divorce that we don't know if it's valid. Then the husband passed away. Is she a widow or a divorcee? We don't know. A Kohen Gadol has relations with a woman who is a doubtful widow. That means the husband gave her a ring. We don't know if it was a good marriage or not. Then he drops dead. Is she now a widow from a marriage, or she's not a widow at all? So in these cases, if a Kohen has relations with her, she's a doubtful halala, and her kids are doubtful halalim, and we'll soon see what the law is for that. But in summary, we have nimtzu hachalalim shleisha. It turns out we have three categories of desecrated Kohen lineage. Chalal min haTorah, we have a biblical, definite chalal. The chalal midivreim, we have a rabbinic, also definite, but only rabbinic chalal. Usfeik chalal, and we have a doubtful chalal. We don't know if he's desecrated or not. So when you don't know, it's actually worse. Because when you don't know, you can either be a Kohen, a real Kohen, or not. The chol sfeik chalal, says the Rambam, in every case of a doubt, whether you're a chalal, noisnin olav, chumrei koyanim, b'chumrei Yisrael, we place upon him the stringencies. We assume he's both a Kohen and a regular Jew, which means practically, einei eichel batruma, he cannot eat truma. Truma is reserved for the Kohanim. It's the first 2% of the crop that a farmer gives to Kohanim. This person, since he's a doubt, maybe he's a chalal, he cannot eat truma, maybe he's a regular Jew. On the other hand, v'noisei isha hara'uya l'kohen, he can only marry a woman who a Kohen could marry, because we consider him to be a Kohen. I skipped something, I'm sorry. V'loi mitami lemeisen, he cannot become ritually impure by touching the dead, like a Kohen. V'noisei isha hara'uya l'kohen, and he also has to marry a woman who's fit for a Kohen. If he ate truma, which he wasn't supposed to, if he became impure through a dead body, if he married a divorcee, so biblically we can't hold him accountable because we don't know. Maybe he's a real Kohen, maybe he's not. But the rabbis will give him rabbinic lashes. Same thing will apply to a rabbinic chalal, that we treat him kind of in both ways, like a Kohen and not like a Kohen. But a definite biblical chalal, harehu kizar, he's like a regular Jew. He can marry a divorcee, he can become impure to dead bodies. Shenemar, because it says, and this is an important verse right in the beginning, this is the opening verse of the portion of the Torah that discusses the laws for Kohanim. And what does it say? Emor el hakohanim b'nei Aaron. Tell the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. They're the ones that the following laws apply to, which means, afal pi shehem b'nei Aaron, even though they are the sons of Aaron, technically if you go from father to son. This chalal can trace himself back to Aaron HaKohen, ad sheyu b'kihunam, but they have to be also Kohanim. Torah gives them two titles, Emor el hakohanim b'nei Aaron. That means one is not enough. You can't just be the son of Aaron on the map, I come back to Aaron HaKohen. I have to be also a Kohen. You're not a Kohen, the laws don't apply. Halacha Yud Aleph Kohen Zachar Shehu Asur Lisa Zayna V'Chalala, a regular male Kohen who cannot marry a Zayna, a woman who's been in a forbidden relationship, or a Chalala, a woman who was in or born from a Kohen forbidden relationship. Asur B'Giyoyres U'Meshucheres. So a regular Kohen, therefore, cannot marry a female convert or a female freed slave. Shehi Kazayna Kamesh B'Yarnu, because she has the status of a Zayna, as we explained yesterday. Aval HaKohenes, but a female Kohen, it means a daughter of a Kohen, muteres lihinase lechalal uleger v'lemeshuchra. She has no limits. She can marry a desecrated Kohen, she can marry a convert, she can marry a freed slave. Shalei huzharu ksheres lihinase lepsulin. Kosher Kohanim women were never warned against marrying men with unacceptable lineage. Shenemar, as it says, same verse, b'nei Aaron. All the laws apply to the sons of Aaron. V'lei b'nais Aaron, not the daughters of Aaron. Nimtza, it turns out, and this is a funny conclusion here, Hager, you have a convert, he was a non-Jew, joined the Jewish people, mutter lisa mamzeres v'lisa kohenes. He can marry the two extremes on the Jewish genealogy spectrum. He can marry a Kohen's daughter, and he can also marry a mamzeres, because converts can marry a mamzeres. They're not part of Kahal Hashem, as we saw in chapter 15. So you have a convert, he can marry anybody on the Jewish spectrum. Yud Beis, Geirim u'Meshuchrarim, Shenasu elu me'elu v'hilidu bas. Converts or freed slaves that married each other. So there's no native Jewish blood in them. And they had a daughter. Afilu la'achar kama deiros, even if it continues as such for multiple generations, as long as there's only convert or freed slave blood here, hoyel v'lo nis'ariv b'hen zera Yisrael, since never native Jewish seed was never mixed into them, the daughter cannot marry a Kohen. She has the status of a convert. But after the fact, if she did get married, we're not going to force her out of the marriage, since she was both conceived and born in a holy status. But once a convert or once a freed slave marries a Jewish woman, or a Jewish man marries a female convert or a female freed slave, once you have native Jewish blood mixed into them, the daughter is kosher initially to marry a Kohen. Halacha Yud Gimel, the same applies to other prohibitions. Ger Amayni Shanasa Bas Yisrael. You have an Ammonite convert who married a Jewish woman. He wasn't supposed to, but he did anyway. V'chein Mitzri Sheni Shanasa Bas Yisrael. Second generation Egyptian married a Jewish woman, also prohibited. Should have waited till the third generation, but he didn't wait. He did a prohibition, marries the Jewish woman. Afal Pisha Bi Asam Ba'aveda. Even though the relations which created this child is prohibited, and they have made the woman into a zoina, as we explained, their daughters will be kosher to marry Kohanim as an initial option, because their daughters are totally fine. Daughter of a Jewish woman, third generation Egyptian, it's all good. Halacha Yudalet. Chalal shenasa ksheda. This is the tragedy of a chalal. Once a person becomes a chalal, in other words, he was part of a Kohen lineage, but his lineage was desecrated. Once he marries even a regular Jewish woman, Zarei Mimena Chalalim. All of his kids are also going to be chalals. V'chein ben benai. As long as it's father to son, even his son, and the son's son, and the son's son's son, v'afilu la'achar elef dor, even after 1,000 generations, it's always chalal. Sheben ha'chalal ha'zachar hu chalal la'olam. The male son of a chalal is a chalal forever. If it's a daughter, Asura hi lekahuna, she is forbidden to marry a Kohen. Shaharehi chalala, because she is a chalala, a daughter of a chalal. Aval Yisrael shanasa chalala. But once you have a chalala woman who marries a regular Jew, then it stops. It only goes through the sons, it doesn't go through the daughters. Havlad kosher, the baby's kosher. Lefichachim haisabas. Therefore, if there was a daughter, harezutinasi lakahuna lechatchila, she can go back to marrying a Kohen. So it's pretty quick. The women have a pretty quick turnaround. You have a woman who marries a Kohen she wasn't supposed to. They have a daughter. The daughter is a chalala. The chalala marries a regular Jew, and they have a daughter. She can go back and marry a Kohen, and her kids will be Kohanim. So it kind of comes back fast. But with a male, no. Once it's disrupted forever. Halacha Tezvav. Kohanim, Leviim, v'Yisraelim. So here we have basically the 6 genealogical categories in the Jewish people. You have a Kohen, Levi, and regular Israelite. You have a chalal, a convert, and a freed slave. So the Rambam says the first 3 categories, mutarin lavei zeh bazeh, are allowed to marry each other. Kohen can marry an Israelite, a Levi can marry an Israelite, Levi can marry a Kohen, doesn't matter. The havlad hoylech achar hazachar, and the baby status will always go after the father. Not for Judaism, but for tribal affiliation. Will he be a Kohen? Will he be a Levi? Will he be an Israelite? Will depend on the father. There's a parenthesis here which we'll skip because it's repeated in the next halacha. Shenemar, as it says, what is the basis for the concept that tribal affiliation is patrilineal, that it goes through the father? How do we know this? From one of the times in the Torah when the Jews were counted. Right in the beginning of the book of Bamidbar, what does it say? Shenemar, vayisyaldu al mishpachaisam leveis avaisam. They established their family lineage by the house of their father. Beis aviv hu mishpachtoi, ve'ein beis imei mishpachtoi. Family, your tribal family, goes after your father's home, not after your mother's home. For Judaism itself, that's a matrilineal religion. It goes after the mother. Mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. But within Judaism, which shevet, which type of Jew you're going to be, that goes after the father. Now, if we exclude the Kohanim, we take the Kohanim off the list, says the Rambam, Leviim, v'Yisraelim, v'Chalalim, Gerim, v'Avadim, Meshuchrarim, the rest of the 5, Levites, Israelites, Chalals, converts, and freed slaves, Mutardim lavei zeh bazeh. They can all marry each other. Only a Kohen cannot marry the convert and the freed slave, or the Chalal. But the Levites can marry them already. So all these 5 can marry each other. And the same thing, by the way, the baby's status will follow the father. The Hager v'hameshuchra, shenasa levia, o Yisraelis, o chalala. If a man from these 2 categories, a convert or a freed slave, marries a woman from any of these 3 categories, daughter of a Levi, daughter of a regular Jew, daughter of a chalal, harei ben Yisraeli, the baby will be a regular Jew. The Yisraeli, a Levi, a chalal, shenasu giyores, a meshuchreres. Same thing if a Jewish male Israelite or Levite or chalal will marry a female convert or a female freed slave, havlad hoylech achar zachar. The baby always goes after the father. Now the Rambam says a very important rule relating to all marriages. Kol hamishpaches bechezkas kashrus. You come, in today's day and age, you want to get married. You take a look at families. All families can be assumed to be kosher. Umuter lisa mehan lechatchila, and you can initially marry into them. You don't have to start worrying, are they problematic, are they chalols, are they mamzers? You just go right for it. The afal pikein, nevertheless, imra isa shtei mishpaches shemizgare zu bezu tamid. If you see two families that are constantly fighting with each other, imra isa mishpacha shehi balas matzo meriva tamid, or you see one family who's constantly fighting within each other, constantly quarreling, ira isa ish shehu marbe meriva imakol, or you see one particular man who's always fighting with everybody, always picking a fight. The az panim b'yosar, and acting very, very, what we call chutzpahdik, very, very brazen. Chayshishin lahen. Such families, or such individuals, we have to be suspicious of them. And it's proper to distance yourself from them before marrying into this family or with this individual. She'elu simane paslosem, because these character traits are signs of genealogical disqualification. Same thing if you see somebody who loves to slander people. He's always talking about other people's problems in their family. He's constantly throwing stains at families or at individuals. And he's saying, that guy's a mamzer. This family is a mamzer family. We actually suspect that this guy is himself a mamzer. If he's calling people out, saying that they're slaves, we worry maybe he's a slave. We have a famous rule, shekala paisel b'mumay paisel. Anybody who disqualifies others typically disqualifies them with flaws that he himself has. Because no one likes looking in the mirror. So blame it on them. They're the bad guys, when really it's ourselves that is struggling. The Rambam we have here says oy achzarius, but the Rebbe writes in many places that it should be ve'achzarius. Somebody who has two character traits together, brazenness and cruelty. V'seinei asabriyos. He hates everybody and he doesn't do kindness to people. He's a very selfish, self-centered, egotistical kind of guy. We have to very, very much suspect that he may come from the Gibeonites. And here we have a famous line that Avram Free turned into a song. You know the song? The signs of the Jewish people. The holy nation. What are the three signs for a Jew? Baishanim, Rachmanim, the Goyim Lechasadim. They're bashful, they're merciful, and they're kind. In the Talmud, it's in the opposite order. Talmud says Rachmanim, Baishanim, Goyim Lechasadim. Merciful, bashful, and then kind. But the Rebbe explains why the Rambam say it in this order. Because a Jew is not just kind because he's kind. People can be kind out of ego. You can do somebody a favor because it feels good for you. A Jewish person follows it in this order. His kindness comes because he's merciful, and he's merciful because he has a soft spot in his heart. Because he's a bashful type of person. By Shanim at the core, Jews are soft. We have that care. Huh? Where's our Rachmanis? It's right here. What do you mean? We see it all the time. We're merciful on people, compassionate. And then as a result of that, then we do kindness. That's uniquely Jewish traits. Versus by the Gibeonites, what does it say? There's an unfortunate story in the prophets. There was a famine, and David HaMelech was told through prophecy that the famine was because Shaul HaMelech had hurt the Gibeonite nation. So David HaMelech asked the Gibeonim, what can we do for you in compensation? And they said, we're not going to forgive you till you give us 7 of King Shaul's sons and we can kill them. So David was like, that's super cruel. Why? We'll give you money, we'll give you everything else you want. And they wanted specifically that, and they took the 7 sons. Not only did they kill them, but they hung them, and they left their bodies on the gallows. Super cruel. So when David HaMelech saw that, what does it say here? This is in the book of Shmuel. It says, this is the full verse, Vayikra HaMelech LaGivaynim Vayemer Aleim. King David called them over and he said, V'hagivaynim loy mibnei Yisrael hema. The Gibeonites are not from the Jewish people. They didn't follow this basic code of conduct. First of all, they were brazen, stubborn in their demands. Give us the 7 sons. So they didn't allow themselves to be appeased in any other way. They didn't have mercy or compassion on the sons of Shaul. They didn't give the Jews the basic dignity of forgiving the sons of their own king. Don't forget the history. The Jewish people were the ones who did kindness to the Gibeonites, gave them life in the beginning, and now they turn around and backstab you. So therefore, the Rambam says even today, when somebody acts in these ways, we suspect that he is very much a Giv'oni. Now, the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch write that this law in the Rambam only applied in days of old, when everybody was very strongly observant. Today, when halachic issues are rampant in marriages, people don't care about divorces and all kinds of things. If you're dealing with that kind of a family, you must do investigations before getting married. You must ascertain that it's kosher and there's no problems. Especially if you're a Kohen, where you have many more issues. What if a family specifically has a dispute on its lineage? So you can't just presume that it's kosher. Somebody is making rumors that there's a problem in this family. And the Rambam says, not just rumors, it means that actually 2 people gave testimony. That in this family, somewhere in this family intermingled a mamzer or a chalal or somebody with slavery record. So now, this is called a doubtful family. If it's a family of Kohanim, lo yisa mimena isha, nobody should marry a woman in this family until you check into the lineage of 4 mothers, which are actually 8, because it's 4 mothers and their mothers. I borrowed this chart from a different part of the book. Maybe we can see where the women are in this chart. Who are the 8 women? Ima. So imagine this is not a man, this is a woman. This is a woman you're looking to marry, okay? So you have to check her mother. That's the mother right there. The Aim Ima, the mother of her mother. That's this woman. So you're the mother and the grandmother. The Aim Avi Ima, the mother of her mother's father. So mother's father and the mother. This woman here. The Aim Avi Ima, and her mother, not even on the chart. So it's like a great grandpa, great grandma, right? So it's the mother, father, mother, mother, all the way up. That's on the mother's side. Same on the father's side. You check her paternal grandmother, so the father's mother. The Aim Aviha, the mother of the paternal grandmother. That's this woman over here. The Aim Aviha, the great grandmother from the other side. Father's mother. The Aim Aviha, and the father's mother's mother. So this woman's mother up here on the chart, you can't see it, but the great grandmother over there. That's the 8 women you have to typically check. That's if it's Kohanim. If the family whose lineage is being disputed is a family of Levites or Israelites, you have to go up 1 pair. The Nimtza Baidek Eser is checking 10 women. Typically, that's how it always was. In Levite and Israelite families, there were always much more mixtures than in Kohen families. So Kohen families, only 8. Another regular family, go up another generation. And then, once you check that, now you know it's kosher, and you can marry them. Now, why are you only checking women? Checking lineage, check the men too. Says the Rambam, men have a way. When men get into a fight, we love disparaging people with their lineage. So if 2 men had a fight, and one of them had a problematic lineage, we would hear about it. Because men love to curse each other out with that. If there was disqualification, it would be known. Women, they also know how to curse out each other, but not with lineage. They don't touch that, they touch other things. So a problem in a woman's lineage would not have been known. So the men, we assume it's all out on the table, but not with the woman, so you must check the woman. Now, how come only a man who wants to enter this family has to check, has to investigate? What if a woman wants to marry into the family? Maybe she should also have to check. Why not? Rambam repeats the principle. Kosher women were not warned against marrying unacceptable men. So we didn't have to worry. Only a man has to worry if he's entering a family. Now the truth is, women also have to worry because they might end up marrying a mamzer or someone else forbidden. So the commentators say, indeed, for that you may have to check. Here we're talking about with regard to Kohen issues. Chav beis, kol shekayrin le mamzer v'shaisik. If you see a guy being called a mamzer and he's quiet, he doesn't answer the accusation. Oy nasin v'shaisik, or someone calls him a nasin from the Gibeonite nations and he's quiet. Oy chalal v'shaisik, or someone says, you're a chalal, and he's quiet. Oy eved v'shaisik, someone calls him a slave and he's quiet. Chayshishin le'ol mishpachtei. The fact that he was silent is an indication that we should suspect his lineage. We don't marry unless we check into it, as we explained. And the commentaries today say that's the opposite. Today, nobody really cares so much about these slurs. They don't mean as much. So it actually might be better to be silent, because if you combat the accusation, then you might be showing that there's actually something to fight about. Just be quiet, let it go, and it's fine. So this law, according to most authorities, doesn't apply today. Chav gimel mishpacha shenis'arev basfeik chalal. You have a family into which was mixed a doubtful chalal. There's a rumor, we're not sure, somebody who was possibly a chalal married into this family. So now, kol almana me'oisa mishpacha asura l'kohen lechatchila. Any widow from that family cannot marry a kohen, because she might have been married to the doubtful chalal. V'im nisis lo teitze. But if she gets married to a kohen, we're not going to force her out, mipnei she'en shtei sfeikas, because there's a double doubt. Double doubt is, Shema zu almanas eisei chalal, Shema eina almanasei. Maybe this woman was the widow of the chalal, maybe she wasn't. V'im neimar she almanasei, even if she was the widow, Shema chalal hu Shema eina chalal. Maybe the guy originally was a chalal, maybe he was not, we don't even know. Aval im nis'arev b'chalal vadai. But if there's a definite chalal in the family, kol isha me'an asura l'kohen asher yivdek, then every woman, not only the widows, even the daughters, cannot marry a kohen until you check into it, because maybe she was the wife or the daughter of the chalal. The imnisas teitze, if she gets married, she has to leave the marriage. The same laws apply to a doubtful mamzer or a certain mamzer. Doubtful mamzer, every widow cannot marry a regular Jew. Certain mamzer, no girl can marry a Jew till you check into it. She'eshas mamzer ve'eshas chalal lekahuna isur echadu, because the wife of a mamzer and the wife of a chalal marrying a kohen, it's the same concept, same prohibition conceptually, as we've explained.